Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Neuner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Neuner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. This is your host, Bob Gibbons.
And I'm your other host, Stephen Neuner.
And today we have a really interesting and special show. We've many times alluded to the fact that we both work with our wives.
Work for or work with?
I'm not going to answer the question. Answers may vary depending on time of day. But so we work with our wives, and we've had quite a few guests that also work with their spouses. And some that have actually been, like Hal and Judy Doherty were one of our early guests, and they worked together. In fact, they didn't start their businesses until they were in their late 50s. And it's pretty cool how well it's worked. So we thought we would do a show where we bring in our wives and talk about what it's like to work together.
We don't even know what they're going to say.
We don't. And in fact, this is very dangerous, I think.
This is my most nervous show yet.
Mine for sure. But they seem to be rather anxious to say something, so we better say welcome to Jan Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty and Corey Neuner with Alkali Benefits and Insurance Services.
Thank you. We
Thank
can
you for
smell
having
your
us.
fear, by the way.
Welcome. Yes, I'm going to smell our fear. You're bees. You guys are bees now? Well, we like to start off with the wisdom of others, as you guys know, because you're our most regular listeners, right? Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, have they listened to every show, by the way?
I have not.
I have not.
Oh, okay.
Well, we know that they're honest.
So it may
But
still
we
be
love
my
you.
mom as our best guest, best listener. I don't know.
All right. Well, the quote is from Rita Rudner. Bob told me the correct pronunciation of this person's name. She says, "I love being married. It's so great to find that one special person you want to annoy for the rest of your life."
So true. I like it.
So is that offensive or is that just accurate?
No, I think it's very fitting.
Not for me, but it might have been for her.
So because I never annoy you?
No, not ever.
Okay, that sounded very,
Convincing.
very sarcastic, which I would have expected. So let's start off. Corey, what is something about you that a lot of people don't know?
Well, I wanted to be a veterinarian, and I had 36 animals in my bedroom in one period of time.
What?
Yeah.
Live animals?
Live animals.
Why?
The real deal. I was just curious, and I had a best friend, and that was our hobby, and we were weird, and we were fine with it.
What kind of
And
animals
it
were
was a lot
these?
of fun. Iguana. I had a sugar glider, newts, lizards, snakes.
And you owned these
Everything.
things?
Oh.
Or they were just like a traveling zoo that stopped by?
I was leasing
They're
them,
on
and
lease.
I could trade out if they were acted up. No, yeah, I owned them all. It was like a hobby and a job all in one.
She had two animals when I met her, and I hated them both. So that's a different radio show, though.
I remember the story about the little dog that she had that hated you.
How about you, Jan?
Probably that I'm an introvert.
Yeah? So you're loving being on the show here today, huh?
Well, in situations like this, it's fine, but I didn't know I was until someone described, what do you do to relax? And I realized that for Bob, he loves to be around people and it energizes him. And I'm like, you're kidding. That's so much work. I want to go home, watch a ball game, read a book. So
Good ball games on these days.
Yeah, well, last night was a great one, but it's actually, by the time this airs, it'll be 3 weeks ago, so I guess it don't really matter.
So, Jan, why don't you share with us what you were doing before you joined Riata?
Well, the first time I joined Realty was I was a stay-at-home mom and I homeschooled our kids. I stayed home with them for 20 years. And then when Bob opened Realty, I worked for him. But then in 2010, I got back into the insurance game. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I was there about 5.5 years. And then a year ago, I went back to work for Realty again.
I'm glad you finally woke up and left the dark side.
I know. And went to the
Riata.
darker side.
Yeah, I'm in a room with 3 insurance people, and I'm the only one that has never done that.
Wait,
and never
I'm a
will.
recovering insurance producer.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, that's
Maybe
my
that's another
shtick.
book. So, Corey, what were you doing before you joined Steve in the business?
I was a middle school teacher. I was teaching 6th grade reading and English.
So, which was easier, dealing with 6th graders or Stephen?
Oh, it depends on the day.
So, what brought you into the company?
Well, I was helping Steve nights and weekends as he was getting the company launched out of the guest bedroom of our home. And it just got to the point where we had to make a decision. We either hired someone and potentially had a lease space, which we weren't ready for that expense yet, or I would leave teaching and be the first employee of Alkali. And that's what we went with.
And did you decide, I mean, was this a conscious career change permanently, or was this just sort of an interim thing that you were thinking?
No, at the time it was interim. And, that was 10 years ago, and now it's my career, and I've chosen it.
No, you're not going to go back?
Maybe later in life, but not right now. I like what we're doing. It's fun.
Testament to Corey. Her principal, every year almost without fail, reaches out to her and says, "Have you had enough yet?" You wanna come back?"
Yeah, I mean, with Obamacare, you'd think that would have been the perfect time to say, all right, I'm done.
And she's done essentially every job in Alkali long enough to basically train someone else and hand it off. So she's a huge asset to the business. What about you, Jan?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What are your thoughts?
On?
Who's going to win,
more
the
specific.
Cubs or the Indians?
Oh, I'm going with the Cubbies.
So what were the circumstances that brought you back?
Oh, well, last year, as you know personally, we went through some changes. I lost my mom and Bob lost his dad. And I think it kind of makes you reevaluate, especially at this age in our life. We're a little bit older than y'all, but it's like, is this really what I want to be doing? I had a good situation. I enjoyed it, but working for someone else you're not captain of your own ship. And I'm not saying I am now, but I'm sitting up closer in the boat, shall we say.
Sure. We know the truth. Go ahead. What would you say would be the biggest personal sacrifice you've had to make for Riata and Bob pursuing his dream?
From coming from my last job, or
And period. What's the biggest personal sacrifice you see?
probably losing the big corporate medical benefits.
Yeah.
That's the part I covered off, and that's fixing to come to an end. And that's the part that scared me the most. But as far as sacrifice, I guess he's been doing it for 12 years. I don't see it as a sacrifice anymore. I see it as we finally saw the light.
Yeah.
Although the thing that's interesting to me about that is that whenever I first went out on my own, I'd been employed for 20 years and always worked for somebody else, always had the benefits and the base salary and all that business. So then to go from that to being a commission-only person, that doesn't really have any employees and, doesn't really have any income until I sell something, I probably would have gone back to working for somebody else if it had just been left up to me. But even though Jan was at home, homeschooling the kids, she was the biggest cheerleader, and she was the one saying, no, you are going to, let's stick this out. And so if it hadn't been for that support and encouragement,
You'd be a corporate drone somewhere.
I would be in a cube somewhere right now, probably.
Well, I like what you say. You had one client, and that client no longer needed you. Now we've got a lot of clients, and if one of them doesn't need us, it might hurt, but we'll replace them.
Right.
Your life, I don't know, it's like my folks said when you go out on your own, oh, congratulations, now you get to pick which 70 hours of the week you work. You do have more flexibility, but it's more demanding at the same time.
Yeah, but I also think there's greater job security in owning your own company because, like you said, I mean,
Right.
when you're
Illusion
employed,
of
you have
security.
one
Yeah.
client. And, I'd never been unemployed in 20 years in the real estate business. That was pretty remarkable. But when that was my turn, it was pretty devastating and humiliating all at the same time. But anyway, all right, so Corey, personal sacrifice, have you had any? And what do you think about that to join the company?
I would say time. I mean, coming from teaching school, it's, the dream job as far as your vacations go, having your summer breaks and the Christmas break and spring break. So time has been the biggest thing. Because even though you're right, when you own your own company, you can make your own hours, but there's still a lot of hours that have to be put in. So I can do trade outs, and Steve and I refer to it as like water dumping on each other to have time to do other stuff, but definitely don't have those summers off and the long Christmas breaks and stuff. So time has been a sacrifice, but it's been worth it. It's been awesome.
I'm always envious of teachers for that reason.
Yes.
I mean, I don't envy their salary, unfortunately. We don't pay them nearly enough, but that would be awesome to have that kind of time off.
Yeah, it's great.
Jim, what would you say be your biggest breakdown turned breakthrough in your tenure or experience with Riata?
Oh, I'm glad I did write this one down because I forgot. We get up every morning and work out. And so I was driving home from the health club one day, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I need to talk about this. And wait a minute, I'm not an employee. I get to choose what I'm going to do today. And it sounds stupid, but it really was a breakthrough that day. And I came in and I told Bob, hey. And he's like, okay. She's finally getting it. But it just was, because I came from a really big corporate environment. Mm-hmm. And you get told from the headquarters, which in our case was in London, what you're going to do. And no, now the ship's going, oh, no, I meant for it to go this way. No, it's going this way. And for us to just sit down and talk about the direction we wanted to take it was so empowering to me. And it's just like I woke up one day and thought, I'm really a part of this, and I really get my voice heard.
Oh, does she get her voice? So the funny thing is, when she joined us, I didn't have any other agents working with me at the time. So when she joined me, we doubled our employee base. So we have 2 people now.
100% growth.
And she started status meeting, or also known as staff meeting. And so she writes out the notes, and we sit down and we go through everything we're working on and all the projects and all the clients, and she does that every day. And now we have another agent working with us, and so she comes over and we do it too. And we work out of our house, but we still do status meeting every week, which when that started, I just kind of laughed because I thought, seriously, status meeting? We only have 2 people. What's the deal?
Well, you know why we have it.
Yeah,
because
I know.
of that person. Okay, well, I just want to make sure I was clear.
And that person, she's pointing at Bob.
Keep on and check me.
On track or off track?
Code.
Yeah, that's true. There's a track? All right, Corey, how about you? Any breakdowns, turning breakthrough?
Any breakdowns? Which one should I choose? Yes, definitely. I would say that after the first few years, I had a big breakdown of just, can I do this? Do I have the ability for where the company is going, how fast we're growing? The team members that we're bringing on, I was just doubting myself, so I had a confidence breakthrough. Over time, it took a while that I can do this as long as I want it. And once I figured out that I really wanted it, it was just all about engaging in the right tools and resources and coaching, and it has been...
Was that a function of use, internally? You were having this crisis internally and nobody else was involved in that? Or was it based on some feedback you were getting from anybody?
It was internal. I'm a perfectionist and I'm really critical of myself, and it was an internal struggle I was having, and there were signs that were starting to come out and show, and of course Steve, being my better half, helped me with that, to recognize it and deal with it.
So is there any particular steps that you were able to take to, concretely achieve victory over that?
Really, for me, the biggest step was choosing it. Because I had come in as interim and thought, well, I'll go back to teaching someday when it gets to whatever point. But that was never clear. And so finally, when I realized that I could be here forever if I really wanted to, and that I had to choose it, then it was just...
So once it was your choice...
Yes. Once it was my choice, then I just felt empowered.
You owned it.
Kind of knew what I wanted to do.
Visiting versus own it. Well, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to ask this question. If you could change one thing about the business or your husband, what would it be?
I thought this was a 30-minute show.
Stick around.
Okay.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand, and landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Neuner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, this is Alex Vantarakis from the Vant Group. We advise business owners on buying and selling businesses, and I really wish Bob and Steve would ask for some advice on how to run the show.
Welcome back to the next level, Conversations That Propel Business. We're here with our guest, Corey Neuner of Alkali.
Special guests.
Special guest? You say that with a lot of people, though. And Jan Gibbons of Riata Commercial Realty, our spouses.
You forgot to announce that we're going to be the new radio show host, and this is y'all's last week.
Oh.
We're taking over. Right, Jan?
I like her, but no.
Don't tempt the listeners.
If you
They
can
might
change one thing about your business, or I think we just found out, right? Before we get to that question, though, I'm out of curiosity, before we go into that subject, what is the best part of working with Bob, Jan?
Can Corey go first?
All
Oh,
right.
she doesn't work with Bob.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Not yet, but, Realty's looking pretty good.
Actually, I like seeing where we are and everything because Bob was always very good about talking to me about the business and how it was going when I was working elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
But now I can be there and I can help and keep him on track kind of thing. And
He needs a lot of that.
yeah, I really enjoy real estate. In fact, in my last job in insurance, that was one of my largest clients was real estate.
Okay.
And so I actually like the field I'm working in, but then I get to work with him too. So
You still haven't answered the question,
Yeah,
though.
what's the best part of working?
the best part
Are you running for office? Best part of working with Bob.
that I think I make him more effective.
Yeah.
I thought that was implied or inferred, or one of the I words. But
So you're making an impact. You're making a difference.
I think so because I think Bob is fantastic at deals. He's not very good at processes, and that's probably where I'm a little bit better. So for me to come in and instill processes or status, I feel like, oh, look at where he's headed. So I really like that.
You're the yin to his yang.
And
Yeah, there you go.
so just, how, out of curiosity, how do those conversations go? Or you guys been able to adjust to that rhythm pretty quickly?
Well, when she came to work with me the first time, I was very concerned about that because I thought, all right, if we work together all day, she's not going to want to see me at night. And I'd rather see her at night than during the day if I have to choose. And so we were real careful to try and outline responsibilities and who was going to do what to make sure that she was fully empowered, I was fully empowered, and we didn't sort of have to, quote, report to each other in a negative way. And that worked pretty well. I will tell you this time around, which is 6 years later, I guess, 6 or 7 years later, it's more difficult. And
How do you mean?
well, you get mad at me more. And I think that may be because I've done it so long on my own
Sure.
that I'm inflexible. She gets frustrated, I think, with me because this is the way it's done, and I want it done a certain way. Well, does that mean that her way is necessarily wrong? Probably not.
Probably not.
Definitely not.
I just need to, relax a little bit and let go. And sometimes that's hard when you've been doing it so long.
So how do you go from that conversation, flip the switch to date night?
Date night, definition, please.
Hey,
Hey.
you know what that is. Actually, we used to do day night a lot when we weren't working together, and we've actually recently started doing it again. I wouldn't say it's formalized, but no, it's not a big deal. We try to minimize the amount of talk that we have about business while we're on it, though. and try to focus more on our family or kids who don't live with us anymore. They're grown and gone, our parents, etc.
However, his defenses are down on date night, so I can bring topics up, and then get a little edge in that way.
Uh-oh. Date night just got real.
Yeah. So Corey, what's the best part of working with me?
Oh, wow. For us, we don't actually get to see each other that much anymore, except for on the high-level meeting type stuff. We're really working in different areas. But honestly, the biggest overarching part of what I love about working together is the language. We share so much of the same language now because we read a lot of the same books. We get a lot of the same coaching. We're doing a lot of the same just high-level business stuff together, and a lot of that applies over into personal life too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to be able to know what he's talking about because I'm involved in it too.
And you're so close. I mean, you talk about an amazing accountability partner. That's what I tell people a lot of times. It's either people will ask me, and I'll say it's either typically a disaster because it's a trend. We work with a lot of business owners. It's either a disaster or it's great. But for it to be great, it requires work, and we don't have it perfected by any means. But one of my favorite things is the accountability because I've shared in the past I have confidence challenges sometimes too, or when you have someone that really knows you so well and closely and can challenge you in a positive way, right? And they're looking out for you.
And also the other thing I think is fantastic is trust. I don't have to ever question whether or not she's doing things for the right reason.
Right.
She's not somebody who, is going to, what is she going to embezzle? It's still ours.
Not with the amount I saw yesterday.
Okay. Moving right along then. All right. So, Corey, what would you change about the business if you could? One thing about the business and or Stephen that you would like to change?
I wouldn't change anything about Stephen. The good and the bad both work so well together. I love it all. But as far as the business goes, if we had a product that people wanted more than they needed, I would change that. I would just love for people to come to us because they want what we have. They do because the way we package it and our team and our culture and all of that's so great. But maybe if we sold some snow cones with insurance policy.
Get a free vacation when you buy them.
Kate bag.
So you're saying people don't line up whenever it's time for open enrollment at your door like they do when the new iPhone comes out?
Not with a smile. Maybe with a fist. But,
All right, Jan, what would you change about our business or me?
I'm not the high road with Corey. Let's see, how much time do we have left? Probably the one thing I would change is for you to start letting go of more responsibilities. And I know that's hard because you've done them for so long and you haven't done it. It's just easier for me to do it. And I think that it will take more time. But once you do that, then I think it'll free you up to do other things.
Right.
I think the word here is delegation.
Mm-hmm.
People used to ask me when I left the corporate world what I missed the most. And my answer was the ability to delegate. I loved being able to tell other people what to do. And,
there's the problem.
Yeah.
Give the test. Don't tell me how to do it.
Okay,
make a
Well, I know
note.
what's your better half. I found that it's better to ask.
Yes.
I'm winking.
I saw that.
Okay, so let's look at the last year or two in the business. What's one of the best things that's happened in each of your businesses in the last couple of years or a few years?
Sure. Jan, you want to go first?
Oh, I just had high and low in life, period. For the low, of course, for me, it was losing my mom last year. And the high was really quitting my job and coming on board with you.
Hey,
That's a good
man,
one.
that's a good one.
job, Bob.
Good job, Mr. Gibbons.
The high for me, business-wise, is our culture, seeing it catch fire and other people championing it for
been
us,
very
and
cool.
not just being us trying to lead the charge. That's been amazing.
So you have leadership that's doing that now? Is that what you
Leadership
mean?
And
The
just
entire
other
team's
team
leading
members,
in that
too,
way.
Yeah, or just taking ownership of it, and they feel passionate enough about it that they do take leadership over it for bringing on onboarding, right? Making sure that new team members come on and they're in the know and why we do things and the history, and it's refreshing.
We've had the Alkalonian Games. We've the Olympics. Alkalinian. Whatever.
Neuner.
What company we work for? Yeah, I'm just kidding. We and just Halloween. It used to be we always wanted to do a great job, but when you're wearing so many hats, sometimes your great job turns into let's just get it done. So when people come in and bring passion about it and they want to own, they want to create a great experience for the rest of the team as well.
They take it to a whole nother level.
It's just in their creativity. It's so cool.
So what are you doing that is fostering that within them? The right hire, giving them the spark?
Starts there.
What?
Yeah, it starts there. You have to have the right people on the bus, and we recognized that years ago and have been working to be diligent in making sure that we find the right culture fit, and just the way that we're being. We want to have fun. We want a place where people want to be, where we're family. People have freedoms. They know what's expected of our values, and that they have some freedom in that to make some of their own decisions with clients. You know, if they want to send a Starbucks gift card and, hey, hope that your week is better because someone had a bad week, they know they can do that, or just mail them a book. So it's just
Little
they feel
random acts of kindness we really empower to, just because we want to shine. I mean, our business we see, and I've shared with you in the past, we see as part of our personal ministry in life. So if we have opportunities to impact people, well, they're going to come into contact with clients and people that we'll never talk to, and they have the ability to do that. And so we try to encourage that so that they can do that as well. So
Well, people love to know that somebody else has thought about them. And so, anytime you can find a way to touch a client or an employee or somebody just to say, hey, I was thinking about you. Last night we had, I was reading the Dallas Business Journal, and I saw the top 100 privately owned businesses in DFW. And one of the guys that we interviewed on this show a while back, Mark Sinatra at Staff One, was on that list. And he was pretty high on that list. I was pretty impressed. I didn't realize they were that big. So I took a photo of it and I sent it to him, in an email just saying, hey, great job. This is really a big deal. And so, just little things like that. So doing that with employees, I'm sure is great. So Corey, if somebody said, I'm thinking about going to work with my spouse, what would you tell them? What are some of the key insights you would tell them to consider?
if for us, we have a very much of push-pull because we have opposite abilities. Like our unique abilities are different. So I think it lends itself really well. We don't get in each other's way so much because what we're interested in is different than the other person. So I would say if you have strengths that are different from your spouse, definitely consider it.
Play
It's a
on
lot of
those.
fun.
Jan?
She read my notes.
No.
I said, really understand what makes the other person tick and what their strengths are. Really understand what makes you tick and what your strengths are. And pray the others complement each other.
Well, that's true. You got to compliment, but you want to do that even with employees. You don't want everybody to be identical.
Or a radio show co-host.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that's pretty sure.
Pretty obvious here.
Young Stephen here is Mr. Planner, and he comes with all kinds of notes, and I waltz in 5 minutes before the show. It's like, hey, let's do this thing. And he says, have you read their notes? No, but let's go.
But he printed them out
It works.
the day before. I can
always
vouch
print
that.
them.
I
I
can't
just
tell you
don't
if he's
always
read them or
'Cause you
not, but they're
printed
pretty much.
All right, well, thanks for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, guys.
Jan and Corey, we really appreciate you guys in so many ways that we love having you in our companies and on our show today.
In our lives.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so if you want to know more about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com and find us on social media, and we'll be back next week with another great guest.
Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Neuner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.